Welcome back to the Basement Boys podcast and this week's free episode. If you want to check out our Patreon, you can get bonus episodes as well as bonus footage, behind the scenes, etc. So please do that if you're able to. If not, I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you and peace. So we use Discord as our notes for the podcast.
Okay, that's not at all what I wanted.
You only opened your files on your computer.
It didn't even click on them.
We use Discord as our notes for the podcast, and you're getting a lot of notifications. You're a cool guy today. Yeah.
Listen.
So now you're in streamer
I'm in
mode.
3 new Discords today.
Why do you join so many Discords?
So
What void are you trying to fill with Discord servers?
So I have all the content creators I view. The Conestoga Coyotes Discord, link in the description.
Yeah, oh yes. We didn't mention that episode 1 or the introductory episode, which is a big flaw on our part. We created a Discord for this podcast, but also primarily just for our group of friends who game. So because this podcast isn't necessarily a gaming podcast, but there will be a lot of gaming topics involved, we have a Discord, but instead of calling it Basement Boys, we wanted to go the route of making it kind of like a meme/fake esports team. So apologies that the Discord is not called Basement Boys, but I just couldn't pass up the opportunity of making a fake meme esports team. It was just so much fun.
But an actual good one this time.
Yeah. I mean, we did have the whole safe sex clan in the past. That wasn't very brandable, family friendly, or serious. And this isn't really serious. Like I said, it's a meme. We made a meme esports team.
Yeah.
But it's much more fun this time around. And yeah, if you want to check out the Discord, play games with us sometimes. We play a lot of Warframe.
I don't know about that.
I played Overwatch with Anthony today, and he only pissed me off. Dude, tell me how this guy... Listen, I don't want this podcast just to become ranting about Anthony, especially because Anthony's...
The whole thing.
Anthony's probably going to be one of the only 20...
The shit-talking Anthony podcast.
Anthony will probably be only one of the 20 people that watch these first few episodes, or any episodes if we never get more traction. He'll be one of our only concurrent viewers, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't want to talk shit on him. But I just played Overwatch with him today, and my dude, just doesn't understand gaming, I'm convinced. I'm like, hey, Anthony, can you play healer this round? And then he immediately just runs up to the enemy front line and dies. So now we don't have a healer anymore. And then the rest of us die.
How you heal is you die and then you come back with full health.
It was like, I don't know if he was throwing, had a stroke, if the ghost of Princess Diana appeared in his room and that's why he sucks at video games. But I was mad. But yeah, I don't know. We're trying to improve the podcast as time goes on. We have this new lovely table thanks to Zach. It's very pretty. The video is probably not picking it up very well.
This table is as
but it's
old
nice.
as my mother.
It's not a nice slab of wood.
I think this is low-key an antique, technically.
It's pretty.
I like it a lot.
It's the best thing in this set, which is kind of sad.
It's easily the most expensive thing in this set.
But yeah, we have a nice new table for the mic, the audio we're recording here on my laptop, and the notes we have on Zach's. And speaking of notes, we should probably get into them. We haven't talked about anything.
I don't know. We should definitely spend another hour and a half. Ranting.
There are many, many topics to be talked about. We haven't gotten to any of them yet. Mostly being, not only did you mess up my precious Minecraft footage last episode,
yes.
but we had a whole topic last episode about drowning and drowning stories, and you didn't even care to mention?
We were getting to the end of our time.
Okay. So Zach drowned.
I drowned.
And he didn't tell that story on the podcast. So I'll give you the floor. I want to hear this story.
All right. So when I was around 12 years old, a wee little lad, I went to this very rich summer camp sponsored by some adults in my church.
I really don't like the way you're setting this up. Just your pacing of the story is like a Chris Hansen video right now.
Hey, I'm Chris Hansen. Why don't you take a seat over there? Take a seat. That's how I picture Chris Hansen existing, because I've never actually seen To Catch a Predator. I really should watch it. No, but anyway, so I went to this summer camp, and I try to make friends with people. One of them was this girl who was a couple couple years younger than me. Anyway, her boyfriend, who is even younger than her, decided that I was somehow a threat to his relationship. So he did shit like whip me across the back of the legs with that towel.
Dude, that's... Alright. I'm just going to say this right now because I'm a little annoyed. The whole podcast vibe is supposed to be authentic, realistic, and like to create an unfiltered connection between you and the viewer. And for you to only be stating a high school movie right now is kind of pissing me off. Like, I would like you to describe a real thing that happens in the real world.
This is a real thing that happened.
Because I'm pretty sure outside of Los Angeles, California, where movies are filmed, no one's ever been whipped with a towel.
I assure you this happened.
Okay.
Anyway, and then...
maybe I was privileged, I don't know.
We yeah, man, check your towel whipping privilege. So we had the option to either go canoeing or swim at a nearby public pool, I guess. So I always chose pool because I was bad with canoes, and still to this day I'm bad with canoes.
That's because you're shaped like a canoe.
I am a canoe-shaped boy.
And truthfully, you shouldn't put a canoe on top of another canoe.
7 stacked canoes. Can you handle?
Okay, so
anyway,
you're swimming.
I'm swimming in
when
the
are we
pool
going to get to the part where you drown?
Right now, when they start trying to drown me in the pool.
Nice, dude.
Like, him and all his friends were, like, one by one coming at me and, like, pulling me underwater. So I said, fuck it, and did the prison thing you do, which is you take the biggest guy and you beat the shit out of him.
And this is all because you were, like, low-key flirting with a girl in middle school?
I didn't consider it flirting.
Okay.
At all. This is, like, pre my social awkwardness. I'm just having normal person conversations that I haven't had in 20 years.
Okay.
So I just took, like, the biggest guy and, like, held him underwater for, like, extended period of time. And they're all, like, oh, now I'm the asshole, basically. And they're like, oh, we should all get to hold your head underwater now. Because I'm like, that's what you were doing before, fuck you. And then I let them do it because I was a little bitch.
Wait. No, I'm confused.
I mean, I hold my breath real good, so, like, being ready for it was fine, but...
So, they almost drowned you.
Yes.
You fought back.
Yup.
They say, well, your punishment for fighting back is getting drowned again.
Yes.
And you let this cycle continue.
I did because they said they'd leave me alone fully after that.
Did they?
Yes.
Surprising, honestly. I'm very surprised you got away with that without being drowned, like, 6 more times throughout the week. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got to tell the story. Because when you wrote in the Discord that you had a drowning story, after we finished wrapping up episode 1, I got so pissed off. I was so mad when you put that in the topics Discord. I actually
almost drowned when I was, like, 4 in my grandparents' pool in their backyard. But that's just, like,
another one.
That's just standard. I couldn't swim and overextended.
Okay, I mean, I kind of get that.
Everyone drowns that way.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny, too, because you have, like, a lot of fight stories growing up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I have a lot of relationship stories, if I could, enunciate. I have a lot of relationship stories, and that's kind of what I feel like much of the content moving forward, much of the stories on this podcast are going to be, because we don't have any on the vice versa side of things. Like, you don't have a lot of relationship stories, I don't have a lot of fight stories. No. But luckily, we can supply enough for each other. And, like, I really don't have any fight stories, which is surprising. I mean, there was, like, one time, and I made a video about this way back on my YouTube channel when it was still kind of active. And I got a black eye once at gym, but it was just, like, the stupidest thing. Like, we were playing, why can't I think of the term for it? Field? Like, I guess it's not field hockey if it's indoors, like, in the gym. It was just...
Was it, like, with broomsticks?
Yeah, it was like the most poor, like, high school, about to close down kind of gym game. It was basically indoor hockey. But I don't even know if you could call it that.
Down in the next few years. It seems likely.
I don't know. For some reason, I feel like our high school is never going to close down just because they have way too many rich families sending their kids there right now.
You're right.
It's so bad. Like, for such a small school, like our graduating class was 60 people. We had people who, like, one person who I'm not going to mention in the podcast. I don't know why anyone would expect me to name names. That's rude. I'm not going to dox someone.
His name was Jimothy.
This dumb bitch had a dad that was like a doctor and making bank every year. And she tried to go on a rant to me one day in class about how, like, they weren't upper class. And it pissed me off. This same girl, by the way, got a Jaguar bought for her out of high school. And I mean, like, maybe she bought it for herself. I don't know all the details, but I'm assuming a broke college kid, and by broke I mean they don't have money, their parents have money. I don't think she bought that Jaguar herself.
No. Yeah.
I think Daddy Doctor bought it for her. And you are upper class. Like, that was the crazy thing. We had, like, the least self-aware rich kids in our high school.
Well, the most, I think, like, you remember, like, the most acceptable of, like, the redneck group?
Yeah.
Was, he drove a 2015 Dodge Dart.
I guess back then. I know he has, like, a Mustang now.
Yeah, he drove a 2015 Dodge Dart at the time.
But that was, like,
his mom paid for half, he paid for half.
Yeah, like, there was
And then that was going to be the car that went through his whole family of, like, 8.
Yeah, we had some kids in our high school that, like, did work hard, even though, like, their parents had money, too. Like, they didn't need to, but they did anyways. But a lot of the rich kids in our high school have done fuck all for society since they've graduated, which frustrates me because I'm out here trying my best. Now, a podcast might not be the best thing for society, but don't judge me. And putting myself through college, and it's a rough time. Daddy didn't buy me a Jaguar.
Why not?
I don't know. But
I don't know.
That was, like, the only fight. I mean, I guess I'm kind of lying. Like, I got that black eye in gym when we were playing field hockey. And then we also did a football section in gym. And that same kid who gave me a black eye, which I didn't really explain how that happened, basically, dumbass tried to hit a hockey puck really, really hard and really, like exceptionally with his arm movements.
Like, you go like that to hit a puck, and he was like...
Like, your stick should never be at eye level, but his was. But that same guy that gave me a black eye, a couple weeks later, we started a football section, and I went to knock, like, I was playing cornerback, he was playing receiver. He got thrown the ball, went up to catch it, and I knocked it out of his hands. But in the process, I was, like, very aggressive about it. Kind of, like, went through the ball, like, knocked the ball out of his hands. My hand kept going and hit his face. Which, honestly, at that point, like, hold on to the ball better.
Better, idiot.
If this arm...
Look at this. He goes like that and it pulsates.
If my arm, which you can see through, you put a card a card in a deck behind my arm, and 9 out of 10 times you'll be able to tell it's the 6 of hearts. Like, if this arm can not only knock the ball out of your hands, but keep going, like the force kept going to your face, you got weak hands. You got some butterfingers. But it did, and I accidentally hit him in the face, and he tried to fight me, which normally wouldn't have been a big deal, because I just kept, like, pushing him off me. Like, he was, like, squaring up and, like, walking towards me and, like doing that kind of, like, fake...
Come on, bro. Come on.
No, not like that.
That's, the fucking...
Like, the jumping towards you, like, real quick. Kind of trying to, like, fake out punch you. Basically, what any kid ever does that thinks they can fight... But
doesn't have any idea what's going on.
So he was, like, trying to, like, throw fake punches, like, little quick movements and jumping at me. So I kept pushing him off me. And, of course, like, it would have been fine any other day, because our gym teacher was lovely. I trust that man. We had a sub who did nothing. So another student had to come in and push him off me. But I just found it funny that he gave me a black eye. And I said this in the YouTube video I made about the situation. Like, I didn't even realize I had a black eye. I wanted to keep playing. But my gym teacher, who was there that day, like, saw me, pointed at me, and was like, you gotta go to the nurse. So I went to the nurse, and there, and in the mirror at the nurse's office, saw how bad it was. Like, it was 50 shades of purple.
I've had a lot of injuries where, like, I didn't notice how bad it was. But
straight
that's
up.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, that's how it was. So, like, I got a black eye and kept playing. didn't say anything about it, wasn't upset. Just, it happens. I hit him in the face because he had fingers made out of lubricant. And it didn't even leave a bruise the next day, and he tried to fight me. Which just goes to show how much of a pussy he was. He was also, like, one of those redneck kids. And I don't like using the term redneck or hick often, because I actually have a lot of family members that could be described as that incorrectly. And I think it's, like, it's just rude and kind of, like...
Yeah, it's
kind of like a hack insult. I don't know. It isn't a smart insult. There's many better things you could say about someone's character, but
much more clever.
Like, this was the kind of kid that was doing dip in high school.
Yeah.
Like, doing something that not only lowers you socially in any high school, at least in ours, like, doing dip was only, like, a bad... Like, no one thought you were cool for doing dip, is what I'm trying to say. And messing up his teeth at the same time. So, like, lose, baby. But this kid, like, always trying to act so tough, gets hit in the face once during football, where that's supposed to happen, and tries to square up.
How you play the game.
Tries to square up. It was frustrating, to say the least.
Can we take a break for a second? I gotta give Cheyenne her shoes so she can walk Bowser.
So on to our next topic in the Basement Boys podcast. I saw this hashtag trending that really pissed me off, and it's gonna kind of date this episode, which is something we wanted to avoid because we said this in the first episode, but we're trying to stack these podcasts up at the beginning. We're recording the first 3 or 4 before we release episode 1. That way, we, 1, don't get behind at the start, and 2, kind of have a buffer where when we record episode 5, we'll probably only on like episode 2 on the upload schedule. So we're staying ahead. We're getting ahead to stay ahead. And I don't really want to date this episode, but it's kind of inevitable when you're trying to talk about like real world subjects, and this pissed me off enough to talk about. So I saw the hashtag trending on Twitter, no meat, no coronavirus. And it was the weirdest thing to ever be like trending hard on Twitter. It was like this weird religious movement where they were trying to link meat, like eating meat, to getting the coronavirus, and that's why you should be like vegetarian.
I think that like the Chinese government was trying to blame the coronavirus on like someone ate a bat.
Well, I did research,
but
I did research kinda enough that I feel responsible to talk about this and be half right.
All right.
But it was just so weird. And it was like multiple religions, at least I saw. But mostly like a lot of posts on like the Buddhist and Muslim level where it was just like, Allah says don't eat meat and you won't get the coronavirus. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not in the Quran, to be honest. First off. But secondly...
Yo, in 2020, this virus is going to pop up. Just don't eat meat. You'll be fine.
That's not true. So I read 3 articles, which I feel makes me smart enough to talk about this and get a PhD. And it's rumored that the coronavirus spread from a, like, meat market, but not from the meat itself. Like, the animals being stored so compactly and kind of inhumanely at a meat market in China is what caused it. It's like the animals itself caused it, but not eating the meat. That hasn't been confirmed, at least, from the articles I read. Like, eating meat is not confirmed to give you coronavirus. It was just started, apparently, allegedly, from animals at a meat market, not from meat at a meat market. But it's just, like, it was crazy to me how, like, something that isn't confirmed, and from the articles I read isn't true, was spread like wildfire to promote, like, religion and vegetarianism. And it's like, I don't understand. I hate Twitter so much.
Well, Reddit's full of, like, shit that I assume is only BS. Like, oh, the coronavirus can't survive if you, like, in your body, if you drink alcohol and are in temperatures above 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Like, what?
I don't know.
That's not how it works.
There's just so much speculation.
That shouldn't be how it works.
And it was bothering me to read, like, all these tweets and there were like even a few like Christian tweets. I'm not trying to like single out these religions I mentioned. Like, no. I'm not trying to attack any religion.
It was religions. These are the ones I recognize.
Yeah, but like there were multiple religions where like there were posts where like Allah says not to eat meat, don't get coronavirus, and it was like Jesus never ate meat, you shouldn't eat meat either. Hashtag coronavirus, and I'm like, what is happening? It was like, it wasn't the number 2 thing trending in the world, but like it was the number 2 thing trending in my region.
Yeah.
And I did not understand why. And while I was doing this research, it led me to find something that we never really talked about, and I think you kind of purposely ignored, so I want to confront you on the podcast. I fucking hate these things. I don't know if I mentioned, because I haven't edited episode 1 yet, in episode 1, but we got these beanbag chairs as kind of like a meme, because it's a Basement Boys podcast. It's supposed to have like a, kind of mother's...
They were also like 50% off, so... Yeah.
It's supposed to have like a mother's basement kind of like neckbeard vibe without the cringiness. Like, we wanted to, in some ways, be purposefully low quality to fit the name Basement Boys. And these beanbag chairs are one of those reasons. But I hate them.
Yeah.
They're so uncomfortable.
There's a reason I'm sitting fucking pretzel legs
crisscross applesauce?
Yeah, crisscross.
Hey.
Can't say that anymore.
I know what you were going to say. But no, I found a collection of tweets I sent you a while back, which was on your birthday, and you never responded. You didn't like any of them. You didn't respond to any of them. And
did I not respond to
I feel like you're mad at me.
So low key, if I didn't like even make a move on them, it's because I got them at like 3 a.m. when I woke up and had to go to work, and then just didn't look at them again.
Yeah, but I sent Zach on his birthday, because his username on all his social media platforms is Melon Wizard. I thought it would be appropriate to send him several gifts over and over and over again on Twitter of melons being exploded, broken, cracked, hit with a sledgehammer, and he didn't respond to any of it, and it really bummed me out, and I forgot about it. I'd erased this horrible, horrible memory of being ignored by my friend, but was reminded from it almost indirectly because of hashtag no meat, no coronavirus. So now I'm doubly pissed off. And it wasn't good.
No, I think I saw all that, I think multiple times throughout the day, because like you did it in a thread and like you update it throughout the day, and I think I just like was either too busy to like and whatever, or I like just didn't think to do it at the time.
Well, that's okay.
Because I usually like, I don't understand it, but like my default on social media is not to like something I like.
Yeah.
So like if something like on Reddit, people are always like, oh, people who like something but don't upvote are garbage. That's me. I don't upvote anything on Reddit unless it makes me laugh or at least like snicker a little bit.
Like the first 5 years I was on YouTube, I did not like any YouTube videos really. And now
I've liked like 3 of them.
Now I start liking videos only as a way to save them and find them later.
Yeah.
I go to like my liked videos playlist.
Hold up, I'm going to my liked videos playlist now.
Is kind of inconvenient because there's a watch later playlist, or you can just make a playlist called save for later or videos I like, but I just kind of use the like button as that. I agree with you. Like, there are a lot of things I partake in on social media
I've only liked 147 videos.
That I don't support. I mean, that's
Which
low.
A lot.
Given you've been on YouTube for a while.
Yeah, I've been.
That's a low number.
What, 6 years now?
I don't know.
Something.
I don't know. It's your life. Figure it out.
I don't know how to read or write.
Read the room.
That's honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm used to it now though. Like to go back to your point of kind of like feeling out of it when it comes to social media. That's how I am, and it's kind of like for 2 main reasons. Like, I do not have the time to dedicate to social media as much as I should if, I really am trying to pursue being a Twitch streamer and, podcaster and YouTuber seriously. Social media should be my game, and it's not. But also because I don't like so much of my family and friends. I'm not going to name names, but I should clarify. When I say family, like, I don't mean immediate family, like people I live with. But so many of my family and friends just don't like, comment, or do anything on my social medias, which to some degree is acceptable. But like, our dog is breaking our house. Sorry. I didn't realize how loud.
No, yeah.
Our dog. I didn't realize how loud Bowser jumping up and down off the couch just sounds. But that's okay. We should honestly bring him down here for some of the future podcasts.
Yeah, let him climb all over everything.
Assuming he'll be a good boy. But the point I'm trying to make is like, even on a platform such as Instagram, where the whole premise is posting a picture and people like it, I can't get likes from family members that I know are using Instagram daily because they're posting or at least uploading to their story daily. And it's like, we've gone to Christmas Eve parties together. Like, what about my pictures is not good enough? So I've kind of just developed this attitude where I do what I want for me and I'm no longer trying to get approval because it's just not... It's not worth anymore. I don't know. It's so frustrating that I've now kind of gone full circle where before I was mad that I couldn't get likes from like family or friends that I was spending classes with on Instagram, to the point where now I'm like, oh, you know what? This picture kind of sucks, but it's going on my Instagram anyways because I like it, which is a much more healthier attitude. Easily so.
That's like, I don't really like, I have an Instagram and like a Twitter, but I don't really do anything on them because I don't care. Yeah.
I'm trying to step it up moving forward because, like I said, I want to start taking this, role. I'm not going to say job because it's not a job for me yet, but like this hobby of being a Twitch streamer, YouTuber, and now podcaster seriously. And to grow, you need to be on other social media platforms and try to brand yourself and expand yourself. So I'm trying, but I'm definitely removing the need for approval in the process because I'm not getting any approval anyway. So I might as well stop expecting. Like, I don't know why my large Italian family rarely likes my Instagram posts.
It's especially weird because usually like large Italian families are close.
I don't know, man.
Like, at least my excuse is we're German.
Like I said, I'm not complaining, and if anyone from my family ends up watching this podcast, I'm not upset, but it is weird. Like, I have a big family, and very few of them like my pictures, even though they follow me on Instagram. Stuff like that, like, confuses me. I'm more confused than upset, because it doesn't make sense. But, I don't know. I also think it's funny. I just realized this now. I was gonna do a sketch about, like, every kind of trashy or at least like stereotypical podcast and just like the things that each podcast says or starts with. And some of those examples would be like, welcome back, or the typical guest interview questions where it's like, so what's your inspiration? The most vague and stereotypical interview question ever. And I hear it on so many podcasts I listen to.
Probably God or Jesus.
One of the things I mentioned and wrote down in that script for a sketch video I'm probably never going to make, so I might as well spoil it, is the phrase, I'm not going to name any names. And I've said it twice now this podcast, so I'm so mad at myself.
I feel like that's kind of like necessary so that you don't dox, because like people
will like ask questions.
If someone tried really hard, they could figure out who you're talking about.
Yeah. If I am either like a little like hint at it a little bit or don't say anything, I don't want people to start asking questions or looking around. Like, I want it to be very clear that the goal of this podcast is always to entertain, and never to dox people. So because we do tell a lot of personal stories, and we have a lot of personal stories planned for this episode and future episodes already. We have topics for episodes 3 and 4. Like, they're going to be personal stories, and it's going to be difficult to tell them without like revealing other people's personal information, but that's what we have to do because it's just respectful not to reveal other people's personal information. Like I said, I just thought it was funny that I literally wrote a script for a sketch video yesterday, which made fun of podcasters using the phrase, I'm not going to name any names, and then I've done it twice in this episode already. Yeah. But
speaking of sketch videos, I need your help with one tomorrow. Of course.
Are you actually going to upload again, Zach?
Yes. I'm going to upload again, and I literally only am saying it right now to fucking hold myself to it on a platform that isn't mine to hold myself to it on.
Well, I mean, last episode, I tried to convince you to start live streaming again. This episode, we're going to convince you to start doing YouTube again. Next episode, we getting back on heroin, baby. Oh, man.
No. All right.
I mean, that was the worst transition.
All right.
All right.
All right. Heroin.
You did not try to hide at all the fact that you were moving on to the next topic.
You
laughed and then were like, you stared really deep in the laptop and were like, all right. I mean, all right. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I mean, I mentioned before how I wasn't trying to date this podcast, but the next topic only dates it even more, which at this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no harm in dating podcasts. I just hope people don't get mad at us for pre-recording these. In the future, it'll be a lot less pre-recorded. Like, podcasts will probably...
be, like, the week of, at least.
Yeah, but yesterday was the Super Bowl, and it really, like... It was like a weird, eye-opening experience watching the Super Bowl, because it reminded me how little I care about both sports and esports now, which is crazy when that fully was ingrained in my life in late high school and early college. Like, yeah, I mean, the esports hoodie I'm wearing today to kind of mask the fact that I haven't shaved in a while, and I'm just really roughing it today. I mean, I have to do laundry soon, which is why I'm wearing khakis, because they're the only clean pants I have left. And the esports hoodie the hoodie kind of matches the vibe I'm going for of, gamer who hasn't showered in a couple days vibe, which is half true. But, yeah, I don't know, I was watching the Super Bowl, and there wasn't as much excitement for me anymore. Like, for the esports example, I used to be a huge Cloud9 fan, in CSGO at least.
Yeah.
I used to watch all of their CSGO matches in 2016, 2017, early 2018. Especially when they won the major, I was watching the major all the way through, from qualifiers till the end. And it meant a lot to me. Like, I remember being really, truly happy when Cloud9 won the CSGO major. And now, I don't really watch any of their games. And I don't regularly watch sports on TV. But I think the reason is, at least in the esports realm of things, esports teams are way too, interchangeable when it comes to their rosters. Oh, yeah. Rosters are changing all the time. I mean, look at Cloud9.
The Cloud9 roster 2 years ago was, the one that won a championship was, completely different than the one currently.
Yeah, there is no one on Cloud9 that won the major 2 years ago. Everyone that won the major 2 years ago is on a different team now. And it's just hard for me to support a team when the structure of that team itself is always changing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I know Cloud9 is a very rash example of this. If anyone watches CSGO esports, you know that they've probably had the most roster changes out of any team lately. But it really is almost every team except for a very select few in the top 20 that have not had any roster changes in the last year. People are always switching teams, getting traded, getting bought out. And it's just hard to support a team that is not ever really a team. It very rarely is the roster going to stay the same, and therefore you can have a group of guys to support because that group of guys is going to change. It's too much for me. It confuses me how esports organizations and just these esports games as a whole expect to draw in fans when a lot of people, at least like me, who came from the sports world into the esports world, have that mentality of you got to support the team and the players. You got to stand by the players. How am I supposed to stand by the players if 2 months later they're not on the team I like anymore? I'm not going to like another team. I don't want to be a bandwagon. I don't want to support 17 teams. But that Cloud9 example, there were 5 people who won the major. 5 people on that roster. They're now, one's retired, and the other 4 on 4 separate teams. So you're telling me now I want to keep supporting Cloud9, but now I also feel obligated to support 4 other teams because players I like got moved to those teams. It's too much, so I've just stopped.
Well, and it's not even like it wasn't even like they like stuck around for another turn. It was like the next tournament, half the team was gone, right? Because one retired.
2 of them left pretty quickly after.
Yeah,
like it was real quick that the team started changing, which surprised me. Like they won the biggest CS:GO tournament in the world, and then a couple months later, the roster was already changing.
Yeah,
which is it's just frustrating to watch.
Yeah, especially if like you just won a major, like you should be okay with your competition at that time.
And athletic sports are like a lesser example of that, where and part of the reason I don't watch as much athletic sports anymore is because the teams I watch kind of suck. But that's just the life of being an Arizona Cardinals fan. But like even that, some of my favorite players on the Cardinals have been traded, and it's tough to see. So it's hard for me to support a team, a name, when that team and that name is always changing. Like the face behind that team, or the faces behind that team, are always changing. Most popular players are getting traded. I just didn't feel the hype I felt when I watched an Arizona Cardinals game in Arizona, or when I watched Cloud9 win the major. Like back then, I would get a lot of joy out of it. And last night when I was watching the Super Bowl, it was fun. And I still like sports. I'm always going to like sports and esports. But I think that kind of wow factor is worn off for me, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Well, no one we're friends with's team was at the Super Bowl, right? Like there were no local teams. There were no like...
No.
Yeah, so I don't even know who played. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. It was a really good game.
I unfortunately had to go to bed halfway through.
But, yeah, it was just like a weird and like eye-opening. Sounds way too cliche and, kind of...
The Super Bowl was really eye-opening for me.
Yeah, it sounds wrong, but it really was. Like I was sitting there enjoying the game, and then I realized I really don't care as much as I used to. Which, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely a shift in my life.
Yeah.
That I did not notice. But, what can you do? I mean, I guess I need to find something new to bring me that kind of excitement. Because sports isn't it anymore. Oh, wow. We're killing it. Look at us. 40 minutes. This one might not make it to like the 50 to an hour mark, which is what we're going to shoot for. We're very rarely going to go over an hour.
Yeah.
But it's late, and someone is trying to really push my sleep schedule back here.
It's you.
You're the one that took a nap.
Listen.
I was gung-ho about doing this freaking podcast.
I've been ready since like 8 p.m. It's 11:36 right now.
All right, it's both of our faults, but I'm still blaming you. We were supposed to do this podcast at like 3, and now it's 11:30 p.m.
Yeah. Well, I got home at 3.
Yeah. Well,
actually 4.
Listen, like I said.
But, yeah.
All right. So, I need you to listen to me, okay? I need you to learn something.
All right.
If I say something that's obviously exaggerated, it's just better for the entertainment of the podcast and just for the bit if you go along with it instead of ruining both the momentum and just the fucking vibe by arguing with my obvious exaggeration. So, we'll be replacing you next time.
Okay.
I don't know with who yet, but it'll be another boy.
All right. I'm sorry this didn't work out. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I don't know if the mic picked any of that up.
I hope it picked it all up.
But I did start editing episode 1. I said prior in the video that I hadn't finished yet, so I didn't remember half of what we talked about. And that's particularly true. That's partially true. I started editing episode 1 and realized because we're running a 1 mic setup, our audio volume changes so much as our dialect changes as we move back and forth in our seats. So I'm basically trying to level out an hour's worth of audio. Oh, no. So it's about all the same, and it's not perfect. It's not gonna be perfect until we get more mics, but that won't happen until, the Patreon starts to pick up, which if it doesn't, it doesn't. We're doing okay with a 1 mic setup, but a 2 mic setup would definitely be better for just having good audio.
Yeah.
Really good audio, at least. This audio I would consider good, but definitely not great. Nowhere close to great.
Probably we could get better audio.
Yeah. I also want to be transparent in saying that we tried to record episode 2 already, and it did not work out.
Nope.
It was mostly my fault, and for which I apologize. About half of the episode, which is crazy that it was half of the episode.
No, yeah, we spent way too long on it.
Was spent on one topic, and it just didn't work. We restructured today's episode with new topics, new ideas, because I did not want to mimic in any way our first attempt at recording this episode 2.
Yep.
Because half of the episode was spent talking about something that was important to me, something I really want to talk about, but maybe wasn't appropriate, which was a relationship I found on Twitter. Because I said in episode 1 that one of the bits I want to do on this podcast is look on certain subreddits and kind of just read and react to the content. And one of my favorite subreddits is r/relationships, because some of the funniest relationship problems and stories are posted there. As I like relationship stories, I think they're hilarious. And I found a relationship that was definitely not funny. It was a DDLG relationship, which, if you don't know, stands for Daddy Dom and Little Girl. And it's not exactly what most people think of it from face value. It's much more than just calling your partner daddy. It's this whole mentality of, like, the girl being super submissive and the guy being super dominant, and there's, like, rules and stuff. And most of the time, it's healthy. And while, you know, we can argue all day about whether or not it's cringy or we should judge it, that wasn't the argument I was trying to bring up. I was just trying to bring light to the fact that this relationship I found on Twitter was one of the most unsafe relationships I'd ever seen, if true. I'm not going to dive into it really long this time because, like I said, we talked about it for half of the episode the first time. I know the first time we tried recording this, we talked about it for half the episode. But one of the crazy things that I will mention, just to provide you context, is the girl would be locked in a cage while the guy worked his 9-to-5 job, which immediately struck me as worrisome, as if there was anything bad happening, like a house fire,
yeah,
or like someone tries to rob the house. Like, she's screwed.
Yeah, it's just over.
And a lot of people will say, well, she probably knows the combination, the lock combination to the cage. It's probably just a fetish thing. Like, if she wanted to let her out, she could. But later on, this Twitter account mentions that she always wears mittens that are locked to her wrists so she can't use her fingers, as like a way to make her more baby-like. So I'm like, even if she does know the combination to this, cage she's being locked in for 8 hours a day, she couldn't get out of it if she wanted to. And that was some of the lighter stuff. There was comments about, sexual acts being done whenever, wherever, which, again, as like a fetish thing, maybe that's okay. But I've never heard of a relationship where consent is just given whenever, wherever. There was a lot of unsafe stuff. One of the other worst ones, and I'll end on this, a third and final example of how unsafe this relationship was, is the Twitter account said that the girl was only eating 1 jar of baby food a day, which is not enough sustenance for an adult human.
Hella malnourishment.
Yeah. So we spent half the episode talking about all these grotesque examples of this relationship being unsafe, kind of trying to make it funny, but it didn't really work. It was more just sad and upsetting. And I realized afterwards why we shouldn't upload that is because there's nothing we could do.
Yeah,
this Twitter account does not...
It's just out there.
Yeah, the Twitter account does not mention any names, and all of the pictures do not have faces shown. So, there's really nothing we can do, and therefore spending 25 minutes talking about it and not really being able to get many jokes out of it because it was just such an absurd and messed up situation, I was like, that's not a good vibe for our second ever episode. Like, it's not good that our second ever episode was
going to be the most serious episode of the entire show ever.
Yeah. So we are re-recording episode 2 with new topics, so it's fresh. But I did want to mention that for transparency's sake. I tried to make that topic work. It did not work. I did a lot of research for it, which kind of sucks that I had to scrap it. But it was, research kind of worth doing, because if any names or faces ever pop up, I now have incentive to, take action.
Yeah, do something.
And try to maybe help. The only thing I can say that is helpful to the situation and, maybe helpful to people possibly listening to this, if you're a guy out there who wants and fetishizes about putting a girl in that relationship, rethink your actions, bud. Alright? Your dick's not that big, and you're not that good looking, honestly. No one is good looking enough to force their partner to only eat 1 jar of baby food a day. And if you're a girl in that situation and you're into it, because one of the counter arguments I saw people making on Twitter was, well, she's into it. Can you really, say it's wrong if she wants to live this way? No one with a healthy psyche should be into that, and I don't think could be into that. So there's definitely something wrong there. And if you're a girl out there listening to this, it's not okay. Don't put yourself in that situation. You deserve better. But that's kind of the 5-minute version of what we spent 25 minutes talking about in the first attempt of recording.
I feel less bad this time.
Yeah. And we ended with a much more positive note this time.
Yeah.
Well, last time it was kind of we can't do anything about it. But in light of not having a good r/relationships post last attempt at recording this, I found one for this attempt,
nice.
Which was the crazy idea that this girl posted on r/relationships that sex which does not last long could be considered rape. Her ideology was she only wanted to give consent for long-lasting sex, and if that did not get applied to her, she retroactively would not consent. Didn't make sense.
So it's that thing where regret equals never having been consent in the first place.
Kind of.
Oh, you're a 2-pump chump? Yeah, this guy raped me.
It was just so crazy, and it was almost crazy enough to make it seem like it was fake. Because honestly, Reddit, I'm convinced at this point, is half fake.
Oh yeah.
There are not that many crazy stories out there.
A subreddit I used to be on, r/am I the asshole, that I got off of, was basically someone would post a thread, and half the comments would be this is fake, this isn't real, this didn't happen. And it's well, maybe it's realistic, and maybe it didn't, but that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some Reddit posts that you can tell are fake.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm pessimistic, but this one was vague. It was in the air of whether or not this girl was being actually serious. But just the idea of consenting for only long sex was laughable to me. And if it was a real post, just find better dick.
How long is long?
Well, it depends about you, bud. I don't know about you.
17 seconds?
Oh no, Zach. What's your average, Zach?
13?
Oh no. Oh no. Alright. No, I'm deleting it. We're re-recording episode 2 again.